on the tables you will see that there are some water containers. Please don't play with them, because otherwise you might knock them over and we might end up with water in all kinds of places that we don't really want to. Okay? If we have an emergency, just follow me, Jill and Eli from the We Are Here Foundation. They are going to present a fabulous session for you today called In My Pocket, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun. So can you please give them a very warm welcome today.
So, today you're going to hear a story that happened more than 80 years ago, just before World War II began. It's a true story of children your age and even younger who had to flee from their homeland, Germany, which was in Europe, all alone without their parents. They had to escape because they were in great danger. They were of the Jewish religion, and Jewish people were being persecuted in Germany by their government, who had introduced racist laws in the country. People in England and Scotland organized a big rescue operation, and this operation was called the Kindertransport, where 10,000 children were rescued and taken to England and Scotland from countries in Europe, as I said, just before World War II began. One of these children was Dorrit Sim, and she wrote the story about her experience on the Kindertransport. What do we call a story that's written by a person about their own experiences, beginning with an A?
Autobiography.
Yes, thank you, it's called autobiography. So, click. That's the cover of the book. Next. Right, that's the opening page, which shows her travel documents and a scene that we're going to see later on in the story. Next. What do we call up there, that little section up there which begins, there were almost 10,000 children. What do we call that at the beginning of a book, beginning with a B?
So I'm not sure. I think it's introduction.
Yes, so it's called a blurb. Let's read the blurb. I was 7.5 when my visa was stamped on the 26th of July. There were almost 10,000 children like me who came to the United Kingdom, that's England and Scotland, before World War II began. Some of us were babies, most of us were Jewish. We were each given a place on a Kindertransport out of Nazi Europe. After the war, some of us were reunited with our families. Sadly, many of us were not, and we either stayed in our new countries where we grew up, or we went to live in different countries all over the world. So, do you think that children are on the run from danger today? Anybody know children today, 2023, are on the run from somewhere? Where?
Maybe people in like Ukraine, like whatever.
Absolutely. Ukraine is a very good example. Afghanistan, Iraq, countries like that. People are on the move. What do we call them when they come to Australia? Yes?
Refugees?
Yes, they are refugees. Some are migrants, some are refugees. And Australia takes in lots of refugees who come from other countries. Okay? Right, page 1 of the story. Hardly anyone on the boat ate breakfast that morning. It was 1939, it was July, and we were on a boat full of children escaping from danger. Next. Back at the Hamburg train station, who knows where Hamburg is? Nothing to do with Hamburg. It's a big city in a country, Germany, the north. Back at the Hamburg train station, a train had been waiting to take us to Holland, to the boat. Mutti and Vati told me the boat would take us to a new life. All the parents cried. We cried too. Who do you think Mutti and Vati are?
Her father and mom.
Yeah, Mutti, Mum and Dad. That's right. And why were they crying? Why was everyone crying? Why do you think? India? Why do you think people were crying? Yes, they had to leave, and they had to leave their parents behind. People were being separated. Next. One little girl cried loudest of all when she dropped her toy dog. It lay on the tracks. A man rescued the dog. He called catch as he threw it to her. Right after she caught it, the train began to move. The girl stopped crying and clutched her dog, and she waved goodbye to the man. Who do you think that little girl really is? Doris. Yeah, Doris herself. That's her. Who knows what point of view this is written in? You learned it at school yet? Point of view? Yeah? Chloe? Can't help?
Third person.
Yes, it's the third person point of view. He, she, they. Okay, so that's who she's talking about, the little girl. How many of you have got a stuffed toy animal or had one when you were younger? I bet everyone's going to put up their hands. Can somebody tell me what theirs? Tell me, Rosie, what did you have or still have?
I think I had a bunny.
A bunny. So why do people, children especially, have toy animals and dogs like that? Why do you think? What is it?
Sometimes they're only child to keep them company.
Yeah, to keep them company, to give them comfort. It's lovely to have something fluffy. Familiar, isn't it? Okay. What do you notice about what the children have got around their necks or on their arms? Yes.
Name tags.
Yeah, name tags. Why have they got name tags? Yeah?
So, like the people who are transporting them, they can recognize them.
Yeah, to be recognized, to know who they are, to identify them, because don't forget they're all by themselves. They haven't got their parents with them. So everyone's got one. Later on, when we're busy doing our art, everybody is going to get a name tag like this, and you're all going to fill in your own one to wear around your arm or around your neck, just like Dorette and the other kinder transport children had. Thank you, next. At last, the train stopped. A big boy said we were in Holland. Who knows what we call Holland today? It's got a different name. Begins with a N. It's called the Netherlands. Used to be called Holland. A big boy said we were in Holland. We sat in a green field and ate cheese sandwiches. We sang songs to the Dutch people who helped us. One song was about a mermaid. They gave us milk and chocolate, and soon we were on our way again. Now, I want to ask you the difference between the dark pictures before, the illustrations on the previous 2 pages, compared to this amazing picture of the children in the green field. What does it tell you about what's happening to these children? And how do you think they are feeling now? Yes, Sebastian?
Happy.
Yes, they're feeling happy.
People feel sad.
Yes, they were sad before. They were very sad.
Maybe like they might feel more safe.
Yes, they feel safer. Anybody else got any ideas? How these children are feeling? Yes?
Maybe they feel comforted.
Yes, they do. Look, she's even, that's Dorette over there, she's even put down the toy dog. She feels safe enough to do that. What about what they're eating? Why is it so special that they're eating cheese sandwiches and milk? What's it telling us about what's happened to these children? Something nice, the cheese sandwiches. What do you think they've had before? They were in a country that had had war, so perhaps the food wasn't so great. Yes, Chloe? Is that what you were going to say? And I want to ask one more question. Why do you think they sang about mermaids? Are mermaids real? So what does it tell you about why that they're singing songs about mermaids? Maybe life was different and mermaids are something that are not real and you can make it up. It's kind of a fantasy, isn't it? But now they come to reality and they are in the fields and the people are being kind to them and giving them food. Next. On the boat, it was strange sleeping without our parents. Thank you, Roger. On the boat, it was strange sleeping without our parents. Only brothers and sisters knew anyone. In the night, some children got lost. They left their cabins to look for the bathrooms and could not remember the way back. How would you feel if you had to travel like this on your own, in a train, and then in the boat afterwards? Anybody know how would you feel? Mum, would you feel scared? Yes.
I would feel nervous because I'm with my parents.
Yes, you would feel nervous. And you would not know your way around the train. Okay, so perhaps a little bit deeper than that, where it says, and could not remember their way back. Perhaps it's telling us something else about their lives. What do you think?
They would left their family and would never find them again.
Yeah, they might not ever go back again. Might be telling us that a little bit deeper. Thanks. Next. Then it was time to leave the boat. We wore name tags around our necks. There was a wooden bridge. Looking through the slats at the sea made me dizzy. I didn't want to move, but everyone behind pushed me. I shut my eyes and held the rail. I shuffled forward with my eyes closed. At last, my feet touched the ground. That's when I started to cry. What's the first thing you notice about point of view here? Remember we talked about it was in the third person. What's it changed to now? Yes?
First person?
Why is that good that it's in the first person? What is it telling us about the story? Chloe?
I was just going to say, I thought you was going to say why is it first person? I was just going to say it's just I.
Yeah, that's right. It is I, because anybody know why? What's it? Have a go.
They're going to talk about themselves instead of talking about everyone else.
Right. She's now going to be focusing only on herself. No more the security of the group of children that she's with. It's now only her. What happens from now on is Dorothy by herself and her own life going forward. So she's changed to Y, to the first person, I. And of course, clutched under her arm is her toy dog, and what else is around her neck? The label. Okay, what do you think's in that suitcase? What would her parents have helped to put into her suitcase before she left?
Clothes.
Clothes. Yes, her belongings. What kind of belongings do you think she would put in? Yes, shoes and socks. What else?
Maybe like family pictures to remind her of her own life.
Absolutely brilliant suggestion. Photos of her family. Yeah. Precious items that she wanted to keep with her to remind her of her family. Next. A train stood ready. Someone said it was a British train taking us to London. Many people were there. Some children had friends or family to meet them. Others looked around for help. There were men with cameras and people holding photographs. Those people had promised to take children into their homes. The children would be part of their families until they could be with their own parents again. So, that's very important because we've just been told, oh, sorry, you've got more people coming in. Come this way. Right, let's go back to the story. You see where it says that there were men with cameras. What do you think those men were taking photographs of?
Newspapers.
Yes, of course, excellent. They were taking photos to put in the newspaper. They needed to show everybody what the Kinder Transport was doing, helping these 10,000 children come across the country all the way into England. So they needed to advertise it and show the good deeds that they were doing. Which girl do you think is Doris in this picture? Yes, Doris? She's right on the end. Of course, she's on the end. She's waiting patiently for her, whoever it is, her foster parents to come and collect her. Have a look at that beautiful photo there, the elegance of the Liverpool Street Station, because that's what it's called. I'm going to show you some pictures later of where they arrived when they got to London. Yes. Okay, wait, I'll ask you afterwards. Next. arm. Look, she said, the child we picked. The girl with the red ribbon and the big toy dog. That's how they found me. So, already, why do you think one of the men is down on his knee in that picture? What's he doing? Why do adults do that with children? Yes?
Like, when they kneel down, like, sometimes say hi and, like, comfort them.
Yes, because they're eye to eye, aren't they? So they can relate to them and help them in that way. Okay, next. A man with them, and that was the man in the blue suit. A man with them spoke German. He said, Willkommen, Schoolkind. I hope I've said that correctly. Welcome, beautiful, lovely child. Isn't that wonderful, the way he's greeted her? She's just arrived, little girl all by herself. All I could say in English was, I have a handkerchief in my pocket. That's how I began to teach myself. Whenever I learned a new word, I put it in a sentence. I have a dog in my pocket. I have a house in my pocket. I have a teacher in my pocket. What do you think of that? Do you think it's a clever way? Do you think it will work? What do you think, Arthur?
That is
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes, what do you think, John? Good way?
So weird.
It is a little bit, isn't it, unusual, but don't forget she can't speak a word of English. And this is her way of teaching herself English. She pretends she's putting things into her pocket. But later on in the story, we'll see how significant that really is. Okay, next. The man and the woman came from Scotland. Everything there was different. In Germany, I sat on a little seat on my father's bike. In Edinburgh, where they lived, there was a car, and I had a real dog. We saw earlier on the real dog. You like just go back one? I want to see if anybody knows what kind of dog it is. Okay, this is in Scotland, so what kind of a dog is it? Who knows? Yes, no?
It's a real dog because they're like more detailed and have like
Yeah, it is a real dog. Anybody know what kind?
a Scottish Terrier.
Yes, a Scottish Terrier. That's right. Okay, next. Right. So now, looking at this picture, everybody, why do you think Dorrit's Scarver on the bike is so huge on the page like this? What can it tell us about what's happening to her at this moment? Yes. Yes.
It's little, like this little way from the world because he's kind of she's okay, my pen
Yes, that's right. What do you think, Sri? Ari?
She's looking back at her past, or looking back at
Yes.
the present.
Absolutely. At this stage, she's looking back at her past life, and her memories of her father on the bike are so overwhelming that they're right there in the front. She's making the comparison between what's going to happen in her new life and looking back at her old life, where her father, they weren't allowed to have cars at that stage of their lives there. Next. In Germany, I couldn't play in the street with children in our street because I was Jewish. That was part of the racist laws that they had there. Now I played with my new Scottish friends. Soon I was calling the woman and the man Mummy and Daddy. After all, I called my real parents Mutti and Vati. What to tell you about this new Mummy and Daddy? What do you feel when you read that they've actually said to her, call me Mummy and Daddy?
They welcomed her into their home.
Yeah, very welcoming and kind, isn't it, to bring her into their home and treat her like a daughter. Okay, next. I got a letter from Mutti and Barty. We miss you so much. Remember to be good and don't forget to write to us. This morning we picked mushrooms and thought about you. We hope to be with you very soon. I hope so too. I put Mutti and Barty's letter in my pocket and I kept it and read it every day, even after the war began. Now, I want you to think about, and I want you to think deeply. She put the letter in her pocket. Why did she do that? What could be the reason for doing something like that? What was her name? Same. Yeah.
It'd be like her parents are always with her.
Yes. The feeling that her parents will always be with her. There's lots more you can say about that. Chloe, what else? Yes, so it's, in the story it's bringing us back to the first words that she learned were in my pocket. She put something in her pocket. Anybody think of anything else that it could mean in the story? Yes?
So she's always reminded of her parents.
Always will be reminded, like Sally said, of her parents. Any others got any ideas? Something to do with memory. No? Okay, so thinking about putting things into your pocket for safekeeping. So you can put physical things into your pocket. This is a little book every one of you is going to get to take home, and that can go in your pocket. So precious items can go in your pocket for safekeeping. But it's not just that. It's something deeper than that. It's putting things away to remember them so that you can move on to your new life, which is what she had to do. So it's keeping those memories safe and keeping them precious so that you can start again wherever it is you live in. And that's what's happened to the refugees that are all over the world, and particularly here in Australia. They're keeping their memories alive, but they're also adapting to their new countries and learning, like she did. The new language, she pretended to put things in her pocket. That's the meaning of the pocket in the story. Everybody understand what I'm suggesting? Okay. Now I want you to think back of the story. Can you think of some examples of kindness and acceptance and generosity and compassion? I'm sure you know most of those words that people showed towards each other in the story. Think back of the story. Give me some examples. Yes.
The foster parents welcoming them kindly to their home.
Yes. That's excellent idea. Everybody hear that? The foster parents welcoming her into their home and treating her like a daughter.
The man throwing the dog to her.
Yes, that kind gesture. He didn't just let the train go over it. He picked it up and threw the dog back at her. Very kind. Imagine the turmoil on that station. How busy it was. Okay, some other examples. What about when they were sitting in the field in Holland? Yes?
Supplying them with chocolate milk and cheese sandwiches.
Absolutely. The food that the Dutch people gave them. Very kind. They came around and made sure that these children were all fed. Very kind gesture. What about the very, very biggest one of all? The Kindertransport. That one, yes?
When the foster parents added her to the family.
Yes, and that's what was happening in the Kindertransport. Children were being rescued. They were going into people's homes to be looked after. They were also going into schools and various other places. But it was the rescue attempt of people who brought them across. And that was 10,000 children came. So that was a very kind gesture. Okay. One last question I want to ask you. What do you think was the main reason why Dorothy wrote the story? She went around Scotland reading the story to children. What do you think the point was of her doing this?
So she could spread the word about the people who were making the Kindertransport and send children away.
Yes, she wanted everybody to know what happened to her and what happened to 10,000 other children. And why would she want to do that? So that it perhaps wouldn't ever happen again. To warn people if you discriminate. This is the consequences. And it's to help people understand what can happen when people are not kind and generous to each other. Nobody has asked me what happened to her parents, because this is what's called the open ending of a story, where it says, I kept it and read it every day, even after the war began. What do you think happened to Dorothy's parents? Yes?
They might have died.
They might have. Yeah, what do you think, John? You think they did?
Yeah.
Yes, they did die in the war, and she didn't
He's
ever
died.
see them again. Yeah. But she went on to have a very happy life in England. She got married, she had, I think, 5 or 6 children, and she lived a very comfortable, happy life with her children. And in fact, last month, my husband Eli was in Europe at the time, and he went to meet her children in Scotland. And they had a lovely time together. Okay, thank you. Now we are going to watch a video that was made about the story to show you how the story, even though it took place in 1939, just before the war began, how you can make it contemporary, which means how you can look at the story today and get something out of it. Okay.
Dorrit of 30 settled in his pocket. I kept it and read it every day, even after the war began.
Okay, so there's Dorrit herself when she was a little girl, and then when she was a young woman, and then as an elderly lady. She died about 10 years ago. She was just over 80. Next. There she is when she was born, a baby, and those are her real parents, the Oppenheims. Next. That's Dorrit in her classroom. This was taken before she left Germany, and there she is on the top left with her bow in her hair. Here she is. Well, that's actually, sorry, that's not her. Those are other children who were also on the kinder transport with their numbers around their necks to identify who they were. And that's actually her own granddaughter, who we use in the advertising of the book. Her name's Ayla, her granddaughter. Next. Those are her identity documents, the passports, the visas that all the children needed to have for leaving Germany to go into England. Next. So I asked you, what do you think she put in her suitcase? One of the things she brought with her, believe it or not, was cutlery. Because in those days, children used to, when they were born, get cutlery for presents, and they had their names engraved. So it's actually, I can't reach there, but it says Dorrit on the silver cutlery, and that was some of the clothing that she did bring with her, so real clothing. Right, this question I'm going to ask you. Can you see the parallels between refugees of the 1939 and today? What are the parallels there? Why are they similar? Yes?
Because most children still bring toys with them.
Yes, children bring toys with them. Where do you think this child is a refugee from? It's a current photo.
Ukraine?
Yes, she is. She's from the Ukraine. Quite amazing that you can see the similarities between the two pictures. So the refugee status has not changed that much. Next. Right, so this is the world. Here we are. Up there is Scotland, England, Germany, Holland, just to give you the perspective of where the countries are. Next. That's what Europe looked like in 1939 when the war broke out. And this is Dorrit's actual journey. It only took a few days. Kassel is the town in Germany where she was born. Her parents took her up to the Hamburg train station, where they got on the train and they went across Holland to the Hook of Holland, and that is Rotterdam, and that's where the boat was waiting to take them, and they went across the English Channel to Harwich, and then to various London stations, in particular Liverpool Street Station, where the Gallimores met her, and they took her up to Birmingham, and then they went to Edinburgh, where she lived her life. Next. that was the real boat, the ship that she went on was called the Vienna. So it was pretty big, and up there is a similar ticket that most of them had. Somebody wanted to ask a question? Yes. Like what? Oh, okay, those were the two photos. Okay, next. So, as we read in the story, there were photographers there to meet the children, take pictures of them in order to put them in the newspapers. Those were children arriving. This is Liverpool Street Station as it was in 1939 when she arrived there. Next. What it looks like today. Not much has changed. It's still got these amazing arches, and that's where Eli was. And next, you can see how beautifully the man who did the illustrations captured the essence of the Liverpool Street Station. Next. Right, this is a video which the adults will appreciate King Charles in the German Parliament.
Tomorrow we will once again stand with the people of Germany.
This was in April when he went to Germany, and there he is at the memorial. There are 3 statues to the Kindertransport. This one is in Hamburg, then there's one at the Liverpool Street Station, and another one at Woolwich, which is where they originally landed when the boat came in. Okay, next. And who's that? Everybody recognizes Patrick there. So, shh. Can't hear. Okay, so Michael Bond, who wrote the Paddington Bear stories, they were all stories before they were movies, he was a little boy when the Kindertransport children used to arrive at various stations that his parents took him to. And he got the idea, once he saw these children arriving and what they looked like carrying their suitcases and their labels, and he got the idea for Paddington Bear from there. Of course, Paddington came from Peru and he was a bear, but that was the idea, with the suitcase and the label, "Please rescue me." That is the car that picked up Dorothy and took her all the way up to Edinburgh. It was an Austin 7 that looked like that. And those are her parents that adopted her eventually, the Gallimore family, Fred and Sophie. And that's Dorothy in the middle there with 4 of her daughters, and she went on to have a son as well. And that's Dorothy with her husband when they went back to visit Castle later on. There she is. The idea of the pocket. Just stop for a moment here. The pocket idea of how to learn English. This is what we're now going to focus on. We're going to paint our own pockets. What I want you to do is think about what you're going to do on your pocket. Your ideas must come either from the story that we just read, okay, or something that inspired you from the story with your own life. Have something that's precious to you that you want to paint on a pocket because it's important that you have it. One boy in another group drew his computer. It was the most important thing, he couldn't live without it. So anything that resonates with you that you would like to paint on your pocket, or, as I said, something from the story, and everyone's going to get their own book so you can copy if you want to. Just to the next one, because then I'm going to show what we need. Okay, so this is what your empty pocket looks like. Everyone's got one. Inside is a piece of cardboard so that when you're doing your painting, it doesn't seep through. It's a bit messy. So that's what the cardboard's for. And also, when you have to dry it before you go home, we take it out and bend it a bit so that we can stand the pocket up in order to dry them. So what you do first is, with your pencil, you're going to draw your picture. Everybody, just listen carefully to the instructions before you start. Make your picture bold and big, because if you draw tiny little things, it's really hard to paint them. They're the most fantastic selection of colors. I've got there gold and silver and turquoise and pink and everything. But if you make your pencil too tiny, it's going to be hard to paint that. So you first do your drawing in pencil, then you take your black marker pen and you outline your drawing, and then we'll come to the painting bit, but that will be a little bit later on. And then what the water is for is for your paintbrush to clean it, and also you're going to do splotch, splotch, splotch on the back and the front as well. So you will dip it into the water and then dip it into the colour and splotch and splotch. But that's the last thing you do. Let me show you some of the... These are some of the pockets that people have done. This is a bird's eye view of the boat. In the back. I've got lots of drawings of dogs and cats because people wanted to draw that because they were special. This person copied from the beginning of the story. Here somebody did the Austin 7. So every single one has to have "in my pocket" written on it as well. In your texter, your black marker, or you'll do it in your paint. A few more. And a couple more. Some of them weren't painted on the back because we ran out of time, but it took a long time to draw. And that's one of my favorites. She drew her cat. Okay, so as we said, next one, there's lots of examples that some of them of the parents drew, some of them the kids drew. But think about what you want to put on your pocket, and I will come around and give you all your own "in my pocket" book. Go. Okay, so come back if you need more. When you do your splotching, I've actually shown them how to do it. I'll show you how I'll do it. You must take your sponge and so you take your sponge and you make it where it's wet already, and then dip it into your colour, and then you splotch your